Everyone, welcome to today Water Cooler Chat, where we're talking about all things Livepeer, whether it's orchestrating, delegating, broadcasting, transcoding, or anything to do with the Livepeer ecosystem. We're here to ask questions and get answers. So we have a couple topics ahead of us. The big glaring one, I guess we'll start out with, is just the LPT hype that has been happening over the last 7 days. Telegram is absolutely blowing up. And Discord has seen also a very large increase of new members, spam bots, new people trying to learn about the ecosystem in general. So, I just wanted to start off on this little topic about LPT hype and what's happening. So, just in the last 7 days, I mean, if we just talking strictly about price, we're seeing like LPT jump almost 100%, sometimes even more, just in a week, and I think that's attracting a lot of enthusiasm. I want to open up to the floor real quick and just get. We won't dwell on this topic too much because this is more of like a Telegram, price action talk. But does anyone want to give their take on what could have happened, what created this hype? Does anyone have any insight into the reasons why we're seeing this increase of interest?
A few guesses, random guesses. Binance was offering like 41% APR, I think, or APY or whatever.
Mhm.
And OKX, which actually supports LPT on L2, if you can get in because it's blocked in the US, they were offering a return of 365% yesterday. And also like a bunch of stuff Eric was doing promoting Livepeer, and I know the Coinbase live stream was powered by Livepeer. Nothing that would really pump the price, in my opinion, but a lot of bullish stuff, I guess, around Livepeer. And once enough people ape in and big investors get in, I guess everyone else follows. So that's my 2 cents.
I also have some 2 cents. Maybe it's a little conceited of me, but Xeenon's been growing a lot actually, and we've had a lot of interest in staking LPT.
Are you responsible for the pump, sir?
Dude, look, man, I'm redacted. I'm redacting everything.
Okay, gotcha.
Transmental is the pump.
I knew it. So you're the dump too, then. Get our pitchforks ready.
No, I was kind of joking, but to be honest, I don't want to sit in here and burst anybody's bubble, but it looks on trend for the macro downtrend, to be completely honest, to me. But that's all I'll say.
Yes.
Taking notes.
Taking excellent notes. Yeah, I mean, if you want to speculate, head over to the Livepeer Telegram channel. Highly recommend it if you want to go talk about price. And for anyone who's listening or watching, it is full of entertainment. But yeah, so no, it's been quite an interesting thing. I like Ben's comment on the interview with Eric on the NASDAQ. So if anyone who missed it, it was a really good interview where basically Eric got 7 minutes to talk about what Livepeer is on the NASDAQ in New York and get people interested or familiar with the project. So I think that could have maybe spiced up a little interest in maybe a broader retail market or maybe institutional market. So, but yeah.
Anyone? Yeah, Doug told me something on Discord on the general channel. Actually, he said it was Livepeer is being gaining a lot of attention because of this Coinbase's summer campaign or something, and the videos were broadcast through the Livepeer network. I thought that I was just thinking out of. I think there's some gathering kind of stuff somewhere, right? And there's some gathering, and there's videos being broadcast also all over the world. But
it's the launch of Coinbase's L2 called Base.
Yeah,
I think
that's where they're going.
I think there's some big money there. That's what I thought. There's some big money there, I guess.
Yeah, they're running a big promotion campaign. They launched their thing. It's called like the on-chain summer, and there's a whole like
Yeah,
if you read
exactly.
on Coinbase's site, there's a whole lot of hype going on around
Yeah.
this L2 that they built. So, and I
And
think according to
yeah,
what Eric was saying is they're streaming like all of their events and they're using Livepeer for that.
exactly. And then they had the chance to see what Livepeer is. And then I was assuming that some big money was also coming into the network, like coming into the token. I should say.
Well, it would have to.
I'm not saying, of course, Eric's video. But I mean, Binance and whatever other exchange was giving a lot of interest yield. We have to get to the source of that yield. Like we have to get to the source of why they are giving that yield. And I was never getting an answer. And then Doug told us in the general channel that there's some gathering, right? And that's why. And Binance know about this. And then they're saying that, okay, there is a hype around it. There's going to be a hype around this in the coming days. And it's still giving 41% or 38%. That's why. I'm guessing because of Coinbase's gathering or whatever. Yeah, because we have to get to the source of why Binance is giving that much yield. I mean, every few months, for a couple of days, Binance just boosts up the yield for whatever reason, and we don't know.
Bags. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, but I mean, why that day? Why those particular days? I mean, it's a yeah, but it can just spread it out, you know? It can just spread it out.
Like they have like a team that runs their node for them, and every now and then they just, I don't know, like does it
like a casino?
Does it impact us if like we know why or when? Or to me it's like, oh, I mean, they're just gonna do what they're gonna do.
I don't think it's arbitrary. I don't think it's just arbitrary. It's just because they know something's up. And they know something's going to happen in the next few days, that LPT is gonna produce a lot of fees, something like that. That's why. And the founders know this. I'm not. I don't like speculating that much. I don't like this.
Speculating a lot, sir.
Yeah.
Speculate away.
It's just that. Yeah, Doug knows this. Doug knows that it's about this Coinbase stuff. And that's why Binance is giving that much yield now. And it's going to end in a couple days, I'm sure. The frenzy
the
is
thing
going to
is,
end.
we're all on the outside. We're all on the outside,
yes.
And then there's people on the inside, right? So there's always going to be like insider stuff going on, especially with crypto.
Yes.
So it's just like, unless you're on the inside, you're just not going to know when this stuff happens.
Yeah, but it's nice that the founders are not advertising it. It shows professionalism on one side. I'm glad that he's not advertising it, but there's something going on. I mean, some money is coming in to the token right now. That's what I think.
Sure.
It's not because of the video only, and it's not because of Binance giving out yield, because we have to get to the source of why Binance is giving that yield, 41% all of a sudden. Like, that's why. That's what I think. Yeah.
I mean, Binance is also like a casino, so there's this theory in casinos where if you don't create consistency with winning, then it becomes highly addictive. And so maybe there's a chance there, like, hey, if we just pull this lever on random days, then it just gets people excited. I don't know. This is also speculation, so.
Yeah, but just one last thought. Something's up. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's another huge innovation that we don't know about Livepeer. Nothing's up. Nothing's new about that. But some people just got to know what Livepeer is. They were introduced to Livepeer, and some big money is coming in. That's what I think about the token.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, we were at $100 like a year or something ago. You know, people speculated about that too, and like Grayscale.
Yeah, that was about Grayscale, though. That was just Grayscale.
Right, but nobody actually knows for sure what that was. Like, we're pumping right now, but we're still down like 70%. You know, like
That's all right. The volume is like incredible. Like, of course, retail. Most of it is still retail, but something's going on. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the volume. Because I think just looking historically, this is one of our all-time 4 high volume days.
It's over Solana now. It's over Solana, AVAX. It's over Polkadot, Chainlink, you name it. Like a token that's in the ranking 140 or something now has volume over the top 10 coins. Like, this is not just retail. I mean, that's
no, I
what
mean,
I'm saying.
Livepure has a lot of institutional investors. I think some of them might have reduced risk and pulled out, but Livepure is heavily institutional.
I do feel
Yeah.
though that this like retail is these pumps and volume. Like I feel like institutions aren't putting on chain volume like this. Institutions are doing OTC market stuff. They're not really, because the volume was so low to begin with that like even if they made a slight move, it would just crank the price.
Eric just made a request to Brian Armstrong on Twitter to be on Coinbase wallet or something. I don't know what it is, but I think Brian Armstrong just got to know what Livepeer is recently. That's what I felt.
Great.
Like they are introduced to each other. That's what I mean. I'm just speculating out of my mind right now, but I just felt that Coinbase has got something to do with it, like all of it.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I couldn't agree more. I think Binance and Coinbase have everything to do with just about everything in crypto. So yeah, I agree. Cool. Does anyone else want to give their comments, 2 cents on the recent hype? Okay, cool. Well, I mean, like I said, this is usually a topic for Telegram and Discord. We try to keep it more technical and more focused on the mission of the project. So, but just with the recent, influx of people coming in, I wanted to quickly cover that topic and at least bring some attention to it because it's on a lot of people's minds. And it's an opportunity to welcome new people to the community. I see we have new orchestrators coming in that want to try maybe launch a node. And this might be a good opportunity for developers to come in and see, hey, look, Binance or is it Binance that are using this technology to stream? Maybe I can use this technology to stream. And so they maybe we get some new video builders in the ecosystem coming along and trying it out. So for those of you who've been around a long time, just keep your keep being helpful in Discord and directing people with helpful resources during these good times of opportunity to capture developers and stuff like this. Okay. Other than that, a little segue into the Livepeer Innovators DAO. Just building the website now. Otherwise, the contest is still going on for another week for the image, the logo. If you haven't submitted your logo, if you're having issues, I know Joke Race is like not a great platform. I've heard a couple of people now comment that uploading of image was really difficult and not intuitive, and which doesn't surprise me because I don't think Joke Race was really meant around logos or images. And then some people were trolling on Twitter, being like, "Joke Race, like, oh, is this a joke? Like, is this real?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." Branding of Joke Race doesn't really fit in nicely. So anyway, it is still a fun little project while we build out the rest of the stuff for the DAO, and while we wait for Delta to move forward and continue down that public good path. Otherwise, just if you have any ideas for logos or you want to put something up, you want to use some AI tools to just experiment, by all means, go ahead and submit. That covers that. The next topic I want to cover is Papa Bear's topic around the new upgrade of Livepeer 0.6.0, I believe. And this idea of a block list. Now, for those that don't know, there's a new release of Livepeer. It was mostly focused on the broadcaster side, and they integrated this idea of a better selection algorithm, essentially. And Livepeer Inc. has published their criteria for who's on the block list and how you get on and off it. Papa Bear, it was your topic. Do you want to add any? Well, I guess I kind of explained a little bit of it. Do you want to explain kind of what you're seeing and how you interpret this upgrade?
I mean, I haven't really seen any effects of it myself, but the reason I brought it up is I was well, I guess twofold. One is something that I brought up when it was first released, that currently it's as long as you maintain the a regional score of above 6.3 in any region, that you are eligible for work in any region. So it's not region specific, which I understand it's being rolled out. So maybe it's a slow roll, and just make sure it works before you start making it region specific, which I think would make a pretty big difference in. I think it would be a lot more useful to be region specific. Have a block list for, if you can't perform in a certain region, then I don't think you should get work there. It doesn't really make sense that, oh yeah, I perform well in Los Angeles, but I can't transcode in Singapore, so I can still get work in Singapore because I can transcode in Los Angeles. Just
How does that differ though from the current setup, where today if you don't perform well, don't you get swapped out and you now have
this keeps you from even getting an opportunity. So that it's not even gonna, you're not gonna get a stream at all if you're not up to a certain standard of performance.
Interesting. It surprises me to hear like of a block list, in this release, whereas like, what transpired that requires someone to be blocked? Like what?
Well,
if that
it's
was
to
a
get rid of.
discussion, something happened,
Yeah,
right?
no, it is. It's there's certain orchestrators that have been like, basically, I think they're older older orchestrators that really don't transcode. Maybe they have a CPU running or something like that, and they fail basically every stream that comes their way. So they were getting swapped every time. So it was just a delay that was being added on to like a good
I
chunk of streams,
see.
because they were big, they're big orchestrators, and they're some of the first ones to get a shot at the stream. So it just causes a delay before
Real work
even
is
start.
transcoded.
Yeah,
I
so
see.
it was.
And this is exactly why there needs to be granularity in the broadcaster config of where they can point streams to. There's a little bit of configuration that can happen now, but this is why at Xeenon we've been asking for really granular control over prioritizing certain orchestrators and then falling back to the pool as a whole if need be. But that's not available right now. Currently, if you
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, currently, if you do add in the Catalyst config an array of orchestrators, then like those are the only 3 that you're gonna hit, or the only like array that you're gonna hit. But what would be really nice if we could actually like set those orchestrators in the array in order of priority, and then if there's no transcoding power available on those orcs, fall back to the pool or to the Livepeer as a whole.
Right.
Sorry for jumping in.
I agree. It seems like something that would be helpful. I mean, especially considering that you're the biggest broadcaster that's not Livepeer, and you would find that useful. That in itself it shows that there would be that there's demand for that, and I'd like to see that. I mean, it seems like a good idea to implement that.
I mean, I think it's a good idea to basically, using performance metrics, determine, how to exclude those that don't perform. Because, like you said, if you got an orchestrator that's up, it's not doing work properly, maybe you don't even realize that your drivers are out of date or something, and your orc's just sitting there failing. So again, it's good to not send work to them. I think that's a good enhancement. But I was thinking more along the lines of, instead of preventing, maybe whitelisting, but if that's Livepeer Inc., they got to use the public network.
Right. So I mean, again, so that was I think the main incentive behind putting a block list into place was to just keep work from even going to the orchestrators that basically fail every time they receive a stream. And to your point, also there was one orchestrator that showed up. I forget who they were, but they just have an ETH address as their name. But they've been around for a long time, and they were running a CPU on their orchestrator, and they're running it as a combined OT. And they were having just another issue where their orchestrator was crashing, so they weren't calling reward. And it just kind of came up by chance that they were failing on every stream they were receiving. We saw it in the Brad's test stream dashboard, and they had no idea that they weren't transcoding. So I do think that there are, like you said, there are orchestrators who aren't aware that they're not transcoding, and they're not performant. So it helps with that. Just get rid of those. It just helps the network be stronger. The other question I had, and I don't know if anyone would know the answer, but it's the way it's worded. It says that you need to orchestrator needs to maintain at least one region. One regional score at or above 6.3 in the preceding month. Is that an average of 6.3 over the month? And is that, I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at the code. I don't know if that's or I don't even know if that's public, but I don't know how that's working, how that works out. If it's an average, you just have to hit 6.3 at one point. You have to hit 6.3 on the day they check. I just was kind of wondering about that. Could someone get blocked because they had a bad day, or I was just kind of just a thought I had. I'm not really too concerned about it for myself.
Well, that's a
personally.
good thing, right? Like, blocks for a day is probably not going to be a problem. But let's say you had a power outage for a month or something, or maybe not a month, but maybe a week. Would that have how much of that would affect your score so that you can't get back in? And if you can't get back in, like, say you do have an outage and then you recover, like, are there test streams that are gonna get you back into the good graces? Like, how does that, when does it flip back to you're no longer blocked?
Well, actually, that's the next paragraph. There's a reevaluation. It says blocklisted orchestrators in the active set will continue to receive test streams, and Livepeer Inc. will reevaluate the block list on a monthly basis using the performance standards outlined in the preceding section, which is what we were talking about before.
Oh,
Orchestrators
geez.
who have improved their performance will be removed from the block list. And then I think there was somewhere, and I don't see it here, that you can request to, if you feel like you've been, orchestrators who believe they've been, that they have surpassed the performance threshold for the preceding month but are not receiving transcoding work are welcome to start a dialogue with the team using, and there's a link to a form. And then also, I guess I'll wrap it up with this, is it says in the future, Livepeer Inc. intends to expose an API that will allow orchestrators to check whether or not they're on the block list. So right now, you wouldn't know if you're on the block list other than maybe going, this is weird, I'm not getting any work. But I was sure for a smaller orchestrator, that would be tougher to notice. Whether, and again, you don't know, is it a configuration issue or am I block listed? Again, just kind of just bringing it up, not really concerned about any of these issues. Other than I do think that it would be better to implement it on a regional basis per broadcaster.
Is this issue of transcoders not, or orchestrators not sending back any data in the selection, but they're getting lots of stuff? Is this been like a critical issue, or is this just a nice to have because the selection algorithm was handling it fine before?
Well, I mean, it depends what you consider critical. I mean, it does slow down. It can slow down the, start speed, which, depending on your application, could be a bigger deal or not as big a deal, depending on, what you're trying to do. But in general, I mean, I think most people want their videos for live stuff, want it to start as soon as possible, have less delay. But
Mm.
I mean, it's a considerable issue because most of these orchestrators were fairly large orchestrators. So it was hitting a considerable number, like percentage wise, of streams that were coming out were going to those first. So it was just adding an extra, depending on how long the segment was delayed. And then again, that assumes then it's going to go to another orchestrator that can transcode. It could go to like bounce between two of those, and then you have maybe an 8-second delay extra on top of whatever Livepeer would normally have. So I mean, does it stop the stream from happening? No, but does it create a worse experience for the broadcaster and the end user? I would say yeah.
Right, because anything to shorten up the delay is going to be a good thing, right? Like, nobody really wants these 15-second delays anymore, right? It's so 2015.
Right.
Like, I
And
was...
again,
Yep.
if you're trying to do chat or something like that, it can really become an issue too,
Yeah, well, I mean, I went on Twitch the other day, and, like, it's fast. Even the transcoded stuff is fast. Like a second or two. And I thought that was...
Well, they're
really
using
interesting.
WebRTC tracks, right?
Yeah, but... Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's more of a delivery system than it is the transcoding issue. But still, like, the difference between the 1080p HD, like, source and the 720p transcoded, like, there wasn't really a delay between them. And so I'm just assuming the transcoder could do the work exceptionally fast too, right?
I never really noticed a delay between.
I think you might have cut out for a second because I got a little lost on what the question was.
Sorry.
He was talking about the difference in delay between source and transcoded segments, and
I
I
can't
was
hear you if you're
following
talking
up.
right now.
Um,
Might
No,
just
you're
be-
rugging, Papa. You're rugging.
I don't know what
Papa's
you're doing,
right.
Papa. We can all hear everyone fine.
Oh, I don't know. It's all right. Then someone else can answer. I'm sorry. I can hear you. I
Yeah,
heard you now.
I couldn't hear you as well, Titan.
Wait,
Oh, okay.
can people not hear me?
I
Now
can hear you.
I
Titan.
hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Now I hear you too, but before you were also cutting out for me.
Oh, well.
Bears and I are sitting next to each other. That's why we're having a hard time. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what's going on.
No, Titan. I was saying that actually in my
Like, if you're
testing,
talking right now, Titan, I cannot hear you.
No, Transmental is talking.
Oh,
Leave and come
well, I
back,
couldn't.
Papa.
That's so weird. Maybe I should leave and come back.
Did you mute Transmental by accident?
I did not. In fact,
I can hear
No.
Transmental just fine.
I see heat.
Leave and come back. Just leave and
All
come
right,
back.
I'll come back.
Yeah,
Because
the
he's
same
showing
with
he's
just
showing
Papa.
he's showing his muted on my thing. Not
Yeah,
like
'cause
I
I muted
him, but
myself.
His mic is showing muted. Anyways, I will leave and come back.
Okay. Can
Okay,
everyone hear
I'll-
me? Yeah. Can people hear
Yes.
me? Yeah, you can hear me?
I
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Transmental.
I can hear Transmental now too.
All right, go ahead,
Tip
Transmental.
mop. Okay. All I was saying is that in my testing, I've never noticed a difference in delay between at least using HLS transport. I never saw a difference in delay between switching resolutions. So I think probably what the even through Livepeer HLS, like source and like the 720 or 360 tracks will be on the same like time. Like when you if I manually switch in the console with the player commands like to the lower resolution, I've never noticed really a delay difference, but I do think what you're seeing on Twitch is probably the fact that they're using WebRTC.
Right. So
I would agree. I would agree with that. That would be my guess too.
So, I mean, as long as you're transcoding in real time and then delivering all renditions through WebRTC, you're going to get that sub, at sub 2 second or like 1 second.
Yeah, but there's something I haven't dug into it too much, but just talking to Marco a little bit about implementing WebRTC, you actually can't like automatically switch resolutions from what I've heard from Marco using WebRTC. So you kind of have to determine before you decide which manifest to deliver to the user. You have to determine their bandwidth up front rather than on the fly with WebRTC.
Oh, interesting. And then because the HLS can adjust, it you know.
Yeah,
if you-
because HLS has bandwidth attached to the metadata, and I believe WebRTC does not. But I could be wrong there. It's just something that I've talked to Marco about a little bit, and I'm planning on, like, at Xeenon, we're planning on switching to WebRTC. It's just a big, it's a kind of a big lift. There's a lot of player refactor to happen there.
Right. I think,
But apparently, if you're running WebRTC, you also want HLS as a backup if the clients or the user's bandwidth drops suddenly, then you want to be able to switch to the other manifest.
right. Okay. Interesting. It sounds like it gets even more complicated as you try and mix HLS and WebRTC into just like one player that's supposed to work seamlessly. Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, and also the fact that WebRTC uses Opus audio, so you actually need to re-encode your audio from Opus back to AAC.
And is that done through transcoding?
Yeah, that's like when we were having that issue with our broadcaster or with our stream manifests overloading, going past the limit of tracks, and it was because every time we were retrying a transcoding session for a video that maybe sent a broken segment to a T, and then we get a failure, so we would retry a couple of seconds later. It would add a new track to our stream manifest, which after 99 the manifest is corrupt, at least with Miss Server. So that the T's also return audio tracks if you ask for them.
There we go. Because I believe Livepeer Inc. is implementing WebRTC as for their ultra low latency upgrade. Are you guys going to be doing something similar with that with Xeenon, or are you guys doing?
We have it in the pipe. We have it in the pipeline. Like we definitely are planning on implementing WebRTC, but like we do have to consider that some players don't even support it. There's considerations around having HLS as a backup. Having switching. The player wouldn't support, or sorry, some browsers don't support it because the audio is in Opus. So if we detect that the user is using a browser that doesn't support Opus, we would need to automatically serve them HLS rather than WebRTC, even if their bandwidth could handle it. So it's definitely a little tricky.
There we go.
So, hopefully browsers update soon to all browsers. Hopefully all modern browsers are able to handle Opus audio soon.
Very interesting. Okay, cool. But I guess back to my original question, which is around the selection algorithm and kicking out people that are not transcoding at all. That actually would be a really big issue then if you were trying to do something like WebRTC, where you're trying to get the sub 2 second latency, but it takes 4 seconds to find an orchestrator just to pick up the first segment because it's bouncing off people that aren't doing the work. And so,
but you still have the source track though.
Yeah, right, but this is what I'm saying. Don't you have the issue of the source track then being ahead of the transcoded track? Or does it just eliminate, does it just completely give up on the first bit of segments and say, hey, this is just too far behind. we're not going to start on the first segment.
That's why actually there's a least live configuration on the B side. So if you configure least live to true, then it will start transcoding as far back as possible. So the earliest segment. And if you set least live to false, which would be the optimal configuration for live streams, then it will choose the newest segment versus the oldest one that it has knowledge of. So the B just needs to configure the least live configuration properly.
Right. Is that the difference between then like VOD work and streaming work? Because on
Yep.
VOD, you're not going to want to lose any segments.
Yep, exactly. So the only problem with that comes where one of the segments in the VOD, like an MP4 file, when FFmpeg cuts it up into TS files, one of the issues with VOD currently with Livepeer is that, yeah, you definitely want least live true so that you're transcoding all the segments, but there's limited configurability on the actual retry of individual segments and what to do if there's an individual segment that's corrupt. So like on Xeenon, for instance, like we just completely fail out the video if the T says that there's a corrupt segment, and we just push the source segments up as the uploaded VOD. Like on Xeenon, if you see a VOD that doesn't have multiple resolutions, it's because either we weren't transcoding for some reason, our deposit went to 0, or the video itself had a corrupt segment after FFmpeg did its job, and the T wasn't able to finish transcoding it. So we say, okay, well, we're not going to continue to try to waste ETH on transcoding this video. We're just going to post the source segments from FFmpeg and call it a day, which sucks, but it's kind of the only path forward to not failing it. Like 60% of videos that get uploaded.
Not failing 60%? You saying that like 40% fail?
Yeah, like there's a very high percentage of videos that we get through our through Xeenon, like uploaded videos where there's some problem with a segment, and the T will respond and say, like, fail on whatever segment, and it like it's not going to continue transcoding unless you configure it to just skip it. But then you think about, like, okay, if that segment's corrupt, then the playback of the video itself is not, like, it's going to get hung up on that one segment, right?
Right.
So you don't know the source of the like what's corrupt on a segment, because it'll be like it'll be transcoding fine, and then like a segment will just have an issue, and then that's when you just decide to toss a bit. But you don't know where the issue is coming from, if it's like the transcoder just muffed something up, or if it was in the source that was uploaded.
Yeah, I haven't seen any like clear identification of where the issues come from. Sometimes it's actually like if I just like FFmpeg, like -I copy whatever the command is to like basically re-encode MP4, and then I try re-uploading, then it'll go through fine. But like we can't afford to like do that for every video before we try to send it to the T's, right? Like it's pretty computationally heavy.
Right. So FFmpeg is able to handle it, the file. So
sometimes, but sometimes also FFmpeg will fail. Yeah. So sometimes if a video, like for at least in our case on Xeenon, like the way we have it configured, if you see a video, or if you're trying to upload a video and it fails completely, and it doesn't even only upload the source segments, then it's due to the fact that FFmpeg couldn't even cut it up.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't have a solution. I was just trying to understand more about what was going on.
No, yeah, but to the initial like conversation or question from Titan, like, yeah, that is the difference between, like, for live streams, you want to have least live false, so it will always try to transcode the newest segment that it has. And for VOD, you want obviously least live true so that it grabs all of the segments.
Kind of a side question. Do you give your like users a suggestion of parameters to set up for OBS on like what works best?
Yeah, I have in our docs, I update it quite regularly with my kind of testing and what I find provides the least latency using Livepeer at least. So
I was just
there's
curious.
some broadcasting like best practices in our docs.xenon.xyz. I noticed actually something interesting that with Chrome and Chromium based browsers don't handle AAC audio very well or very consistently at least. And so you'll see these VDA4 pipeline errors come through a lot with and like which requires like a complete remounting of the manifest. So you have to handle that on the player side instead of like failing the video out completely. You just remount it and usually it picks up just fine. But what I noticed is that if you stream using an X264 encoder, which is a CPU encoder, then those audio tracks tend to be more of a problem than if you use a hardware encoder like a NVIDIA encoder. So that's kind of what I usually tell people, like if you're gonna change anything in your broadcasting settings, don't have a ridiculous bit rate, one, and two, use a hardware encoder if you can.
And another question is, have you noticed any kind of pattern like that? Are there certain people whose like streams always work, like users of yours, and certain ones that tend to fail more? I'm just trying to like kind of
yeah. There's a couple of users, and like I've actually been on a video call with one of the users that constantly the one actually that was sending video minor broken segments over and over again. That user, I've been through his OBS settings and there's nothing odd about them. He does use the CPU encoder, so that could be the issue, but
I mean, it should be able to handle that. I was just curious to know if there's any kind of pattern at all that you're seeing.
Yeah, I would assume that it's almost got to be like hardware specific in that case, or at least like determined by like the amount of load on the hardware. But yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, I was just trying to take in as much as.
But actually, what's interesting, sorry to steal this stage a little bit, but what's interesting is like we've been having these problems with our like track lists growing, whether it's audio tracks or H.264 tracks. And I found out this morning actually that it's due to whenever we have a session with a particular transcoder that fails out and the transcoder like drops the work, or there's too many corrupt segments and so it gets dropped, and we do a retry request for that stream to be transcoded again, whether it goes to the same transcoder or a different transcoder. Each time that retry happens, there's a new 720 and 360 track added to the track list. That's kind of, if you look in the broadcasting channel,
I saw you posted about that.
So actually what's interesting is we've been having this issue, and we thought for a long time, since we run 9 Catalyst pods, so we run 9 broadcasting nodes and they're all connected together with the surf cluster, the surf protocol that MIST uses. We realized actually like before we always thought that, oh, it's because our surf members are missing, like they're not all connected, because like one of the B nodes will be the ingest, right, like the source of the stream, and then all of the other nodes are able to have a reference to that stream, so that like if somebody if somebody is in the UK, like in Frankfurt or something, and tries to watch a stream and the source of that stream is in the US, the stream is actually replicated to that pod in Frankfurt that's closest to the user, right? So we always thought like whenever we had a stream that was just broken, like the manifest was unreachable, we always thought that actually like it was a surf member issue. And what I kind of have a hunch, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm pretty sure that issue was being caused by the track list in the HLS manifest the whole time. And so now that we've disabled retries for now, at least until we figure out what's actually going on, I haven't seen that problem anymore, at least for the past like 4 hours since I fixed it this morning. So that'll be interesting. I'll keep you guys updated on that.
Yeah, curious to hear how that goes.
All right. Yeah, that was amazing. It was great to hear all the interesting hiccups, but also the stuff going on with running a Catalyst node. Transmental, you mentioned at one point to me that there was this Catalyst in a box. Do you know,
Livepeer in a box. Yeah.
do you have a link to that anywhere?
I can find it. Something that I am
Yeah.
Eli is working on. Yeah. So it's apparently a full Catalyst B, O, and T, all in one Docker container. I haven't really played with it. I plan on doing it, but I've just been busy fixing our shit.
I've been messing with that stuff. There was a grant proposal, like an RFP that Doug sent out about the testnet and the Catalyst stuff, but it uses that Livepeer in a box stuff. So I've been playing with it. I got it working. Working being the basic, the basics. You're doing production apps. I don't think what I have working would qualify for that, but it's definitely, a jump start to get going.
Well, the big thing is like when Xeenon first started, we had maybe 5 streams at once. The big lift on getting Catalyst set up, I definitely don't think you could handle scale with the Livepeer in a box thing, but the big lift when it comes to setting up a broadcasting node is scaling when you need to, because you can't dynamically add more pods to one surf cluster.
That's my middle name, man. That's why I was looking at it. I know what you mean,
Yeah.
though. A lot of this stuff that they document, advertise is that, hey, I want to run my little node and here it is, cool. But at the end of the day, I want to know all the moving parts, right? What are all the little pieces and nuggets that are here, and where does the stresses start to come in when the system's under load, and you start to split those pieces out, as you said, into separate pods and get these things, and that is something that's not easy, right? And I don't think, out of the box, you're going to get that kind of stuff. There's a lot of technical protocols involved there that makes it, if you're using Kubernetes or Docker or binaries or, GeoDNS and all these things are going to make it very hard to do.
The GeoDNS thing was a pain. We got it working, but one other thing that's kind of that isn't, I don't think, documented very well is the fact that there's actually some like pretty consistent maintenance that has to be done to, and we have cron jobs set up to handle it now that we know what's going on and what causes bad things to happen on the pods. But like we run a script every like 5 minutes that clears these like TMP files that are caused by a memory leak in Catalyst, or I think it might actually be in Mist, but there's memory leaks that like all of a sudden your pod will just blow up because it's just has no more CPU capacity. And there's like the surf members get disconnected all the time, so you have to run a cron job to programmatically kill the Catalyst API or the Mist util load balancer if there's any pods that are missing from the cluster. So yeah, it's very tricky, and we've been kind of working with the Livepeer team's been great at helping us out, but it's definitely been a pain in the ass at times.
Yeah, I understand your frustrations. I mean, again, you get hit by these rough edges. They cut, man, and they hurt. So I feel for you when you're going through this stuff. That's why if I have any insight, and I try to provide it where I can, and I think Marco's in the same boat. Folks try to do their best, but when you're living it, it's a lot harder to just say, "Oh, okay, they're giving their best."
Yeah, especially like it sucks because like a lot of our users will come into the Discord and be like, "Oh, my stream's broken," and like I know what to do to fix it sometimes, but sometimes it's just not recoverable. especially like when the manifests are corrupt. And it's like I hate saying it, but sometimes I literally have to tell them like, dude, there's nothing I can do right now. Like this is either a bug or a misconfiguration that we have with Livepeer. So we're working on it. Yeah, it's tough when like I said earlier, like Xenon's been growing a ton. And like we're trying to keep up, and it sucks that one of the protocol that we mostly rely on for streaming is sometimes gives us some issues that we've never seen before out of the blue. But we're getting worked out.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
All right. Cool. Well, we've gone through quite a few topics already. Talked about LPT hype, innovators down, the new Blocklist with 0.6, and also the 9 broadcaster nodes with Xeenon. So that's pretty cool. Another one is by TheProducer, which is the swarm storage for Livepeer. TheProducer, do you want to explain a little bit about any progress you've made with this integration, or what you're working on specifically?
Yeah, sure. Currently, like as of just a few hours ago, we were deploying. Well, I personally was deploying the infrastructure via Kubernetes to expand our capacity to handle a large bursts of data onto Swarm. So kind of augmenting the Swarm capacity. So spinning up a lot of the B nodes on our infrastructure to ensure that we can handle a large influx of data specifically coming from Livepeer. And then the other half of the team, we've got probably 3-4 guys just dedicated to working on integrations with the contract side, integrating Livepeer with the Swarm side of it. So they're working on kind of like the interface and also the kind of value transfer that needs to happen to ensure that like account gets created on the Swarm side, and it's kind of seamless where data is transferred from Livepeer to Swarm, and there's like access controls and just like a easy to use account system on that side. I wish I had the guys in here to give an update on that side and more of the infrastructure side. So I can only speak intelligently about my bit, but today we're going to be submitting a full update on our first milestone that we have kind of laid out, which will contain a whole lot more information than I could speak intelligently to now. But all I can say is on my side, I've been deploying quite a lot of infrastructure to support as much data as Livepeer could push over to the Swarm decentralized storage side for now to make sure that that works correctly. And the other side of the team has been working on the integration for like the back end and the UI, and also like a fiat on ramp to pay for either LPT tokens or to extend the storage capacity on the decentralized storage side pretty seamlessly. So that way it works well for Livepeer, maybe Livepeer users that are more used to Web 2 or basically we want to have 2 on ramps, so it's easy for Web2 users to utilize both decentralized storage and whatever we can run the Livepeer side, but also Web3 users that maybe don't have the Swarm token on hand or don't want to deal with it. They'll be able to pay with whatever token they have on hand. So we want to be able to just accept like a credit card if they want to pay for storage that way, or any kind of token that they might have on hand. It'll automatically be bridged over and converted to like the Swarm BCC token, and also providing like a nice UI for kind of like a Dropbox UI. Like, this is your current storage capacity, this is how much you utilize. Something very simple for both Web3 and Web2 natives to kind of utilize our integration. Yeah.
Very interesting. I'm just looking at the Swarm database here, and you can see all the different nodes across the world. Do you happen to run a Swarm node?
Yeah, that's what I was deploying. Well, we have been running a few Swarm nodes, but last night I was deploying a Kubernetes implementation of several Swarm nodes in multiple parts of the world, and then a nice load balancer in front of it. And via Kubernetes, it'll be kind of capacity driven, so it'll actually dynamically spin up more Swarm nodes as demand increases, and reduce them as it decreases, and then it'll all be through one endpoint. So there'll be just one endpoint that we can integrate with Livepeer. So yeah.
Very cool. I think that's pretty exciting. I like that. Yeah, we got people working on all types of different problems. So, yeah, decentralized storage, I think, is something that we overlook a little bit, and I think that yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to get into like something like Swarm or integration like that. I believe you're working on it with Brad. Is that correct?
The Elite, right?
Or
Yeah,
no,
he's working with John.
sorry, Elite. Or is it? I don't know.
Yeah, Elite Proxy.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, Johnny boy. Yeah, sorry.
John.
I just like randomly called out Brad. Sorry, Brad. Mr. Rocket Man. Got you mixed up with John for a second.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit tired as well. I was working on that just a few hours ago, and I kind of fell asleep while I was doing it. So I can speak more intelligently about it a little bit later.
No worries. No, but I do appreciate the effort you're putting into it and the update you've provided us. So that's really awesome. And if you need any more resources or help or anything, like I said, always reach out in the Discord. I've also upgraded your role to video builder. So just in Discord here, you'll probably have a blue name now. So yeah, you're a video builder, and you should be an applicant for some retroactive grant funding when it comes available through the Livepeer Innovators DAO. So it might be good to have your application in there if you do build out this Swarm integration with Livepeer. I think it would be a wonderful tool.
Oh yeah, we've been working very hard on it. Like we have, like I said, like 3 devs, and then the infrastructure side. We're kind of pretty much fully dedicated to this until we meet all the requirements that we kind of put forth for ourselves. So yeah, this is kind of our we're pretty dedicated on this, I'd say. And then Swarm is only one decentralized storage provider that we want to be able to utilize our kind of gateway for. So moving forward, we want to be able to provide more than just one option for Livepeer users to be able to store data. Maybe kind of alternate with the the dream is to get to a point where it's more like a storage market. So if one one service is cheaper than the other, or has performance characteristics that are more desirable to the user, then that can easily be selected either automatically, or if the user wants more fine-grained control, they could select it a little bit more manually. But yeah, we're trying to kind of be provide kind of almost middleware, but connecting to multiple different decentralized storage options to give that flexibility, but also find the best price and the best performance characteristics upon given the multiple different decentralized storage providers.
I don't just like it, I love it. That sounds amazing. Yeah, keep working away, and like I said, as soon as the Livepeer Innovators DAO grows and the treasury gets a little LPT, hopefully there'll be a nice little compensation for you for retroactive grants for building stuff. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'll definitely ping you when that the round goes live so you can submit your project.
Oh yeah, you guys have already been like super supportive, so definitely appreciate everything like you guys have already done. So thanks.
Cool. Another topic is Mike Zuper and your testnet deployment. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that, Mike?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Doug put in the chat for Livepeer that he'd like to get some proposals from folks to see how they could get either a Catalyst node set up easy. They want to provide a grant for doing Catalyst, or they want to provide a grant for getting a testnet set up. So I started exploring it, checking it out. Chris Hopcroft was in there doing some stuff as well. He pinged me and asked what I was doing. So I just started to get the contract code, get my local environment working, and I, deployed it to the Arbitrum Goerli testnet. It's not well documented, so there's some, a little bit of rough edges. So, but I was trying to at least figure it out, document it, make sure it works, and I think I got most of it working right now. There's a bunch of use cases that you wouldn't have thought about, but I mean, when you're deploying the testnets, L2 is one of them, right? Like you can deploy right to L2 and that's fine. You can mint a bunch of LPT and away you go. But ideally the way the Livepeer token works is it's on L1, right? And then you set it all up there. And then once you have it working, you would do the migration to L2, just like Livepeer did. So that way you have that correlation from L1 to L2 so that you can test bridging, test all of the things that you would normally want to test, right? Because that's how it really works in the real world. So so there's still quite a bit of work to do, but where I'm at, it's fun though. It's interesting, seeing the smart contracts, deploying them, and putting up your when I minted the 100,000 LPT, I felt like I was a god amongst gods. You know what I mean? Just trying to get as much LPT as I could. Obviously, it's a test net, but still, it just felt pretty cool to go through and see all that stuff because you really don't do that in the real world. So anyway, if anyone wants to talk about it, just let me know. I'm in there cranking on it. Hopefully I'll get a document out and anyone else can try it and do it themselves.
Mike, with this work you're doing on it, is the service registry kind of independent? Is that contract tied into the other ones, or is it standalone?
Yeah, they're all pretty much standalone. I mean, there's some relationships between those smart contracts, but for the most part, it's literally just like the ORC 100 list, right? Like that's it. There's not really a whole lot that's going on in that guy. I mean, it does keep track of your service URI and that kind of stuff, but they're not really tied together. They're not directly tied together. If the node, for example, the orchestrator or the broadcaster node may tie them together in the software, right? In terms of how they interact with the blockchain. But from a smart contract, they're pretty independent.
Okay. And my lens of asking that for reference was like, if if you develop anything to use the GPUs in the Livepeer network, when you only have one point of entry of what URL or IP address to ping, and it's it's one port, one IP address on that service registry. If you could set up separate ones for different kinds of work, I have no idea if that's the best way to do it, but I was curious if it was standalone. At least
Oh
try.
yeah, no, that's a good thought. I didn't even consider that, but yeah, being able to have multiple records for your service URI so that somehow you could, I mean, I guess you're doing it for geo regions purposes, or is it some other reason?
I was thinking like the use case of running small models on your GPUs, like Stable Diffusion or something, and with the service registry right now, what you get is what's going to hit the orchestrator process, right? So then that software now has to be extended to understand the job type that's coming in, which is possible. But I was curious also on if it would just not go to that process and it just goes to an entirely different process, but uses the Livepeer network, the other inner workings of it. So that you still want to use the payments and maybe the top 100, maybe not. I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking, based on what you're saying there, like it sounds like in that case, you'd really want it to be your own node. Like you wouldn't use the current orchestrator's video nodes, right? Like they're just video processing
Yeah.
units, right? You would have
Right.
some sort of node of your own that would get its registry and then would also have, so maybe you would, if you wanted to use the Livepeer smart contract for the micro payment system, you could integrate that into your node and you would just use that part of it and not use the other pieces. Like you wouldn't even need delegation and stake and all that stuff, right? Like it's literally send some work in, get a ticket, right? Here's your ticket.
Right.
And if you hit, I'll pay you. Right.
Yeah, how plug and play is it for each? You just pick the parts you want and go from
Yeah.
there. Or is
Yeah,
it,
pretty much.
you have to take the whole basket? That is what it is. But it sounds like it's more
Well,
modular, which is pretty cool. I've never dealt with
yeah.
smart contracts and that stuff much, so I was curious. I appreciate that.
Well, I messed around with it in the past. Like I messed around with deploying my own little, stupid NFT marketplace like everyone else, you know what I mean? Just kind of messing with
Yeah.
the learning solidity and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, this is a real token, right? This is this is the real factory. This is where you get to actually try it out in the real world. So
Mhm.
to me, this contract's far different than a lot of the stuff that I worked in my little tinkering and toying around. So just being able to kind of see how they organized it, how they pieced it together, how the different pieces kind of relate to each other. I mean, there's definitely some relationships, but they're still pretty independent. You can get in there and, grab a contract and use it, right? You can invoke the one thing I found is I had everything working, everything was going, and I couldn't get around to initialize. I didn't understand, like, all the contracts were deployed. I had my orc up and running. It had money. I bonded the money, but when I went to look, it never like became active. And it was the throwing some error about round not initializing. And I think folks have in the past, if you're an OG orchestrator, you may know that because I guess in the past they've had that problem where the rounds weren't initializing. So, but that's a smart contract, right? And it's really a cron job. Like you need to go in there on schedule and invoke that smart contract to make sure that rounds initialized. And once it's initialized, then tokens get minted and all that stuff starts to happen. But it depends on that round initializing. There's a contract for that. So if you are taking bits and pieces, there's definitely some relationship to the round and how tokens and rewards get minted. So anyway, that was a nice little escapade into the world of Livepeer smart contracts and getting the environment set up. But I'm still working on it, and at whatever findings I have, I'll publish for all to enjoy.
Well, I'm glad you're doing it. I want to testnet back for certain things, so I'm glad you're working through it.
Well, with the video miner pool, right, we're working on, working out, some enhancements to the pool so that, we can make it, the demand of the transcoders more available to everybody. And one of the things is being able to test payments, right? You want to be able to test your payment system that's not, maybe it's not even related to Livepeer, just on chain, transferring funds, but you don't want to do that on mainnet. Having that test net's important.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Titan, anything else? Anyone else got questions?
Hey, I got to bounce, guys, but thanks again. I always enjoy talking to you guys. So,
All right, Zach.
have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for coming by, brother.
Have a good one.
Of course. Bye.
Yeah, well, on that note, I mean, we've covered every topic. So, unless someone else has anything else they'd like to bring up, anyone else have any last topic, comments, or questions?
Nothing really specific on my level, but I did submit the pull request for the additional log lines into Go Livepeer for the public log, so that more information could possibly be available. Something either similar or as much as the selection test I'm doing, or maybe something a little bit less, depending on what they would approve. For the most part, I did not add log lines. I just maybe pulled some log lines back into the info realm versus like the debug realm. But the debug realm is more, it just kicks out more and more log lines. But hopefully we can get that going, and the low key can have a lot more information for everyone to use on.
Did you get your web app working with the Loki API, or you just abandoned that?
I haven't done it yet.
Okay. Did you say that was open source, or was it not open source? Is that private?
It's a private repo right now. I'm still going through the process of the grant, but that's kind of I don't know what's going on with that. There's the reliability dashboard grant that I submitted everything to, but it hasn't. Nothing's moved since even like we last talked on that.
Oh, okay. That's cool. It's good work, man. I mean, definitely. I think Papa Bear and I have getting our money's worth out of it. I think it's very insightful. I mean, we understand. You're running an orchestrator. You want to be able to know when you're not performing properly and why. And this is like gives you the visibility you need. So I love it.
I've sent myself test streams a number of times when I have zero work for a while, just trying to see if everything's sending back correctly.
I told you, man, every single orchestrator in the 100 list would pay for that service, like an on-demand test streamer, like be able to submit, real time, I've just made a change. Did I break my infrastructure? Like, am I going to be impacted in my, and again, with this, you missed the first part of the conversation, but they were talking about the 060 release where this Blocklist comes in. If you start to have problems, you get blocked. And then Livepeer would like unblock you once a month or something like that. Like, man, you don't want to get blocked. Having a tool like that in hand, boy, that's a valuable thing.
Well, I appreciate that. It's been kind of fun to work on. It's although we'll see how long I can actually keep it up, because I am paying all the F fees for all these.
I was going to say every time I see
streams.
every time I see one of those tickets come through that I know is one of your streams, I'm always like, oh man, that sucks. He's paying for this out of pocket. But hopefully Livepeer.
Look, man, you should get a list of orcs that'll set your price per pixel to 0 for you, so that you can run your test streams through. And if they don't do it, then don't send them the test streams, and that way people, like I said, it's valuable, man. This is like such good insight for people to be able to understand what their orc's doing in an environment that's not going to penalize them when their stream breaks, right? Like if you get swapped because you're just under the edge of real time, your tool tells you that, and you can adjust accordingly. I mean, dude, this is like gold right there.
I think the long term, or the more distant or long tail of this, is like the selection test part of my tool will end up just plugging in to the Livepeer Inc. data, and the more specific, like request a test stream to yourself, will be how my tool lives on, and then you'll have to have a price per pixel pretty low, right?
Yeah,
so it won't
no
catch many
doubt.
tickets.
Right,
and then
no doubt.
The other part was if you have a price per pixel less than, I don't know, let's call it like 25, you could do a long-term test, like an hour-long test or something like that, to see how it goes.
Right. Yeah. Make sure you're sticky instead of having network disruptions that cause you to break stream, for a short, a short test might not see it, but a longer term test will catch it. So no, I think those are great features. Every org, I'm telling you, every org would want to use that on demand. It's great. So maybe that'll inspire you to get back on it or make it open source and I'll hack on it with you.
In time.
All right, man. No doubt. No
I
doubt.
did add on the USA East one, I did add an orchestrator prices table so you can see what the broadcaster is seeing for prices. That'll go to the
Oh,
eHub soon.
interesting.
But the USA East one is what I hack on the most, which is also the one I break the most, unfortunately. I try not to break it.
Hey man, you're out there having fun. It's your world. We're just playing in it.
Right on, right on, right on.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we'll go ahead and end it here. Thank you all for coming. Any last comments, questions?
Yeah. Where did you add that? The price thing you were just talking about? Brad?
It's on the selection tests on the USA East one. There's another
Oh,
card
in
right
the
above
test.
it. Yeah.
Oh wait, where is it? Why am I not seeing it? Oh, org prices right there, right dead center. Oh, okay. That's
Yeah, it is actually dead center on the page.
all right. Yeah, it was two. I was like looking all around it. Yeah, all right. Oh, that's awesome. Because yeah, that was a weird issue that we noticed on a few orchestrators that were not coming back with prices.
It's still doing it. Like LivePool is still showing a different price for mine, and I don't know why. Could never figure it out.
I'll go through it. Yeah, I'll go through it on my own now. I'm not gonna go through every single person's. Oh, so this actually shows. Wait, what does it mean if there's something that's divided by it, or it's got like a slash? Like
they're not
it's got
using 1 pixel. I think. I think they're using like the prices per 1,000 pixels or something.
Oh, whoa.
Which is there's more than I thought.
I always
was
wondered
be
why that
on
was
there.
an option. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of people doing that.
It could be that when they just do a point, like they do a decimal point, it might do that on like automatically. I'm not sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of them like that. Interesting. Well,
I'm gonna
something new for me to like. Something new for me to play with.
LivePool's one of them, so I need to ping Nico and see if he's actually doing that, or if it's just a conversion that the software does.
All right. Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, when you're dealing with cryptocurrencies, the values, man, that's a pain in the neck in any application. I know I've learned that with my Livepeer tools. Just the conversions, you lose, precision, and things don't look right.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I think
that was it for me. Sorry.
That was it. Anyone else want to make any comments, questions, anything else to go through?
I got one more. No, just kidding. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, I do appreciate you all being here for the this week's Water Cooler chat. Yeah, I do appreciate the effort you put into coming and being here and joining the movement. So, as the hype train might continue or might taper off, we are still here every week building and improving and, trying to build the world's open video infrastructure. So, thank you all for coming, and we will see you all next week. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Hey, guys. LPT to 100.